Hello there, and welcome to the calm space of LUMI VERSE NL, a quiet corner of the universe where science slows down enough to breathe. Maybe you've had a long day, or maybe you're simply one of those curious souls who fall asleep better while learning something beautiful. Tonight, we stay close to home, to the planet that holds every memory, every color, and every breath we've ever known. Let this moment be your pause. Let the world outside fade until only this voice and the quiet rhythm of the earth remain. Because tonight, we drift through the most relaxing facts about the only planet we call home, Earth, a place both ordinary and miraculous. Beneath the noise of cities and the hum of machines, Earth is alive in ways we often forget. It spins silently through space, wrapped in oceans, clouds, and light. Every heartbeat on this planet, from the smallest insect to the vast migration of whales, is part of one great rhythm, the slow breathing of a living world. Our planet has been here for more than 4.5 billion years. It was born from fire, sculpted by water, and softened by time. For most of that history, there were no eyes to see it, no voices to name it, only stone, wind, and motion. And yet, even in those silent ages, the seeds of life were already stirring. When you look at Earth from space, it appears fragile, a pale blue sphere surrounded by darkness. But inside that thin veil of air and ocean, everything we know exists. Every story, every species, every dream. It's easy to think of Earth as a stage for life. But in truth, it is part of the play, an actor in its own drama of creation. The continents move, mountains rise, oceans shift, climates breathe. The planet itself evolves, slowly and endlessly, guided by invisible forces that never sleep. Scientists call it the Gaia principle, the idea that Earth behaves like a single, self-regulating organism. Its forests are the lungs that draw in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. Its oceans are the veins that carry warmth and energy around the globe. Even the soil beneath your feet is alive with billions of microscopic creatures, building, recycling, and renewing life with every passing moment. Every element that makes you, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon that forms your skin, was once part of the Earth's deep interior. Over time, volcanoes and erosion carried those elements upward until they became part of you. You are not separate from the planet. You are its continuation, a fragment of Earth that learned to breathe, think, and dream. So as you listen, imagine this planet not as a background to your life, but as something living within you. The air that fills your lungs was once inside trees. The water you drink fell as rain millions of years ago, and the heat that warms your skin comes from a star born in the same dust as this world. In every heartbeat, you are connected to Earth's quiet pulse. It moves beneath you in tides, in wind, in the whisper of leaves. Even in stillness, the planet continues to create, to adapt, to sing in the low hum of existence. And perhaps that is the most relaxing fact of all, that you and Earth are not two separate beings. You are the same story told in different forms. Tonight, as we begin this gentle journey through the wonders of our world, let yourself rest in that thought. The same elements that built the mountains and oceans are flowing through your body now. The same atoms that once drifted in the air above ancient forests are moving through your breath. You are not just on Earth. You are Earth, listening to itself. So close your eyes. Feel the slow turning of the planet beneath you. Hear its rhythm, deep, calm, and endless. Because to know the Earth is to rest within its light. The story of Earth begins long before life, before oceans, before air itself. It starts with dust, ancient cosmic dust that drifted in silence after the birth of the Sunday. Slowly, those particles began to gather, drawn by gravity's quiet pull. They collided, merged, and warmed, until molten rock and metal formed a newborn world. In its beginning, Earth was a sphere of fire. Seas of magma stretched across its surface, glowing beneath a sky of smoke. Volcanoes roared constantly, releasing gases that would one day become our atmosphere. There was no blue, no green, only heat, ash, and motion. And yet, even in that chaos, the foundation of life was already being written. Over millions of years, the planet cooled. Rain began to fall not for days or weeks, but for centuries. Drops hissed as they struck hot stone, carving the first rivers, filling the first basins. Those waters gathered minerals from the rocks they touched, and within them, chemistry awakened. It was here, in those primordial oceans, that the first spark of life is believed to have flickered not from magic, but from patience. Imagine that first cell, fragile and alone, floating in a warm sea. It had no eyes, no purpose, only motion and memory. And yet, it would become everything. Plants, animals, forests, oceans, and us. All the colors of the world were contained within that single drop of possibility. From that moment, Earth began to change not just physically, but spiritually, if such a word can exist in science. The planet learned to breathe. Volcanoes released gases, oceans absorbed them, and clouds returned them as rain. Through this endless exchange, the first atmosphere thickened, protecting the surface from the sun's rage. And when sunlight finally reached those early seas, it carried the energy that life needed to expand. The earliest organisms were microscopic, simple strands of matter that could copy themselves, but from their slow and silent repetition came everything that would follow. They multiplied, learned to use light, and began to fill the oceans with oxygen. This transformation, the Great Oxidation Event, changed the entire planet. The air that was once deadly became breathable, and the sky turned blue for the first time. Every inhale you take tonight carries the legacy of that ancient moment. The oxygen in your lungs is not new. It has cycled through forests, animals, oceans, and clouds for billions of years. The breath that leaves you will one day pass through another living being. This invisible exchange is the oldest partnership on Earth, the planet, and its life sustaining each other in an endless loop. Even the continents beneath your feet are part of that same rhythm. The crust drifts slowly across molten layers, separating and colliding over eras so long that mountains rise and vanish before a human lifetime could begin. This motion, called plate tectonics, shapes everything we see, from valleys to volcanoes, from earthquakes to the tallest peaks. Earth is never still. It flows beneath its skin like a great living muscle, flexing and folding through time. If you could speed up the clock, you'd see continents dance, drifting, merging, breaking apart. Oceans open and close. Islands rise from fire and then sink beneath the waves. What feels eternal to us is only a gesture in the planet's long breath. So as you lie still, remember this. Even now, the ground beneath you is moving. The continents slide, the core hums, and the earth continues its quiet creation. It doesn't rush, it doesn't rest, it simply endures, reshaping itself moment by moment. The next time you feel the steady ground, think of the vast motion below. You are standing on a wave of stone, carried through time. And in that realization, there is peace. Because it means that everything, from rock to rain to life itself, is connected through the same rhythm of transformation. Earth is not a static world of soil and sky. It is an artist, and every element, fire, water, air, and stone, is one of its brushes. Together, they paint the ever-changing face of the planet. Every mountain, every ocean, every breeze that touches your skin is part of a larger canvas, the artwork of time itself. Life on Earth did not begin in a single place or moment. It emerged everywhere in oceans, in stone, in the quiet heat beneath the surface, and through those endless ages, it learned to adapt, to breathe, to become something more than survival. From the depths of the sea rose creatures that glowed in the dark, simple cells that used light to guide them. Others clung to minerals near volcanic vents, feeding on heat and chemical energy instead of sunlight. These organisms, known as extremophiles, taught the planet a truth that would echo forever. Life is not fragile, it is inventive. The Earth itself shaped these early beings. Tides sculpted their movement, minerals built their forms, and sunlight wrote their destiny. Slowly, they began to join forces, cells merged, sharing energy and protection. This was cooperation at the microscopic level, the first alliance of life. Out of these unions came complexity multicellular organisms capable of motion, memory, and change. For hundreds of millions of years, the oceans were the only world. There, evolution was patient. Coral-like structures appeared, filtering water and shaping reefs. Soft-bodied creatures floated like dreams, leaving behind faint traces in ancient sediments. Eventually, some began to explore the shallow shores, small, cautious, uncertain. That moment, when life touched land for the first time, changed everything. Plants were the first to stay. They captured sunlight, anchored to stone, and released oxygen into the air. Forests began to rise, slow-motion oceans of green, exhaling clouds and rain. And with them came the first breath of true atmosphere, rich enough for animals to follow. Insects appeared, then fish with limbs, then reptiles, birds, and mammals. Each one carried within its body a fragment of the ocean that birthed it. Even now, every cell in your body holds salt water, a memory of that ancient sea. Your blood mirrors the chemistry of the ocean that once covered the world. In every heartbeat, there is a rhythm older than humanity, the pulse of tides that never stopped flowing. As life multiplied, the planet transformed again. The air filled with oxygen, the land with roots and wings, and the oceans with song. But beneath this visible world, another realm continued its work, a hidden network that connected all life through patience and time. Deep in the soil, microscopic threads of fungi grew outward like veins. They reached roots, touched stones, and wove through the forest floor. This underground web allowed trees to communicate, to share nutrients, send warnings, and nurture the young. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web, a living internet older than language. Through this unseen network, an ancient intelligence emerged, not conscious, but collaborative. A fallen tree could still feed others. An old oak could share sugar with saplings growing in its shadow. Even dying roots passed energy to the next generation, ensuring that the forest would endure. The earth, it seemed, had built a way for life to care for itself. When you walk through a forest, you are walking through a conversation. Beneath every step, messages are moving in silence, chemical notes carried through soil and fiber. Trees whisper to one another, fungi translate, and the entire system breathes as one. It is not myth, it is science. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It is a single living community. And in that quiet cooperation, there is wisdom. No creature thrives alone. Every breath depends on another. Every root, every leaf, every grain of soil plays a part in the grand rhythm of existence. If you ever doubt your place in this vast world, remember this: You are part of that same network. Your breath feeds the trees. Their oxygen feeds your blood. Your body returns to the soil that nourishes new life. This is not a circle, it is a pulse, moving endlessly between being and becoming. So, as we continue our journey, imagine yourself beneath the canopy, where the air is thick with oxygen and light filters through the leaves. Somewhere underfoot, roots and fungi are exchanging messages that began long before human thought. And as you listen to that invisible symphony, you may begin to realize that silence itself is a kind of language, the Earth's oldest and most patient one. Far from the forest and deep beneath the waves, another miracle of life unfolds, small, soft, and nearly indestructible. They are called tardigrades, or more fondly, water bears. Under a microscope, they look like tiny, eight-legged travelers with wrinkled bodies, slow steps, and an ancient calm. They live almost everywhere in moss, soil, glaciers, and deep-sea vents. But their true wonder lies in what they can endure. Tardigrades have survived boiling heat, freezing cold, and radiation that would destroy any other creature. They have drifted through the vacuum of outer space and returned alive. Scientists still marvel at how these microscopic beings defy what we call impossible. When faced with danger, dehydration, starvation, or exposure to the elements, they perform a quiet act of transformation. They curl into a tiny ball called a tun, shutting down nearly all biological activity. In this suspended state, their metabolism drops to near zero. They lose almost all water from their bodies, replacing it with protective molecules that act like glass, preserving their internal structures. Time seems to stop for them. Years, even decades, can pass before a drop of water awakens them again. And when that moment comes, they simply stretch, unfold, and continue living as if nothing ever happened. It's not immortality in the sense of endless youth, but rather a profound resilience, a biological patience that allows life to pause without perishing. Scientists study tardigrades to learn the secrets of their survival, hoping one day we might preserve human cells, organs, or even life itself in a similar way. In their small, translucent bodies, the laws of biology seem to bend, and in that defiance, nature whispers one of its gentlest truths. Survival is not strength alone, it is flexibility. As life learned to endure, the planet itself was still changing. The sky thickened, the seas deepened, and within the quiet chemistry of sunlight and air, something extraordinary happened. The birth of oxygen. It's hard to imagine now, but billions of years ago, oxygen was not a gift of life. It was a toxin. Early microbial worlds thrived without it, breathing in a different kind of atmosphere, one rich in methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide. When cyanobacteria began to appear, they used sunlight to make energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, it went unnoticed, but slowly, across eons, it accumulated, poisoning the ancient world that had never known its touch. This great turning point is known as the Great Oxidation Event, a planetary revolution disguised as catastrophe. For countless species of early life, oxygen was lethal, burning through their delicate chemistry. Mass extinctions swept across the oceans. Yet from that devastation, something remarkable began. New forms of life evolved to use this once deadly gas as fuel. Breathing became the foundation of a new kind of existence, the kind that would eventually lead to us. Every breath you take now is part of that long inheritance. When you inhale, you are continuing the story that began in those ancient seas. The oxygen that sustains you was exhaled by forests, coral, and microbes. It travels endlessly through air and body, a silent current connecting every living thing. The air you breathe tonight once passed through the gills of fish, the leaves of trees, and perhaps even the lungs of another person 1,000 years ago. In that sense, breathing is not an individual act, it is a shared rhythm. We do not own the air. We borrow it, transform it, and pass it on. And just as oxygen reshaped life, life reshaped Earth. The rise of plants, with their green pigment chlorophyll, gave color to the planet. Leaves turned sunlight into energy, carbon into form, and air into nourishment. Through the quiet labor of photosynthesis, the world became self-sustaining. Forests grew, oceans bloomed with algae, and the balance between breathing in and breathing out began. Even today, that ancient exchange continues every second, the invisible heartbeat of the biosphere. But not all life waited passively for what nature offered. Some learned to hunt in silence, not with claws or teeth, but with patience. Among the swamps and wetlands of the world, plants began to do the unthinkable. They started eating animals. Carnivorous plants like the Venus flytrap, pitcher plant, and sundew evolved in places where the soil was poor and nitrogen scarce. To survive, they turned toward innovation. Instead of waiting for nutrients from the ground, they lured insects with sweet scents and shimmering colors. A fly lands, a leaf twitches, a trap snaps shut in less than a second. It's not violence, it's precision. The quiet engineering of need. The Venus flytrap counts before it moves. It waits for 2 touches within 20 seconds before closing a built-in safeguard against false alarms. The pitcher plant forms deep, slippery wells filled with digestive liquid where unlucky prey slide down and never return. The sundew glistens with sticky droplets that curl around its victim, slow and tender, as if embracing it. To call this cruelty would miss the point. It is design, beautiful, efficient, and necessary. These plants don't hunt for power, they hunt for balance, transforming scarcity into creativity. In their quiet way, they remind us that survival is not always about domination. Sometimes it is about adaptation, about turning limitation into art. When you next see a simple green leaf, remember that it may hold more intelligence than it seems. Within it are systems that sense light, measure time, and even respond to touch. In a way, every leaf is a thinker, a living solar panel, aware of its place in the cycle of the world. And beneath the calm surface of its stillness, a quiet genius hums a memory of sunlight, a dialogue with air, and a rhythm that never ends. From the tardigrade's indestructible form to the flytrap's patient strike, nature's imagination stretches far beyond ours. Each adaptation is a story of survival, written not in words, but in silence and shape. And through them, Earth keeps reminding us life does not resist change, it becomes it. Hold a single leaf up to the light, and you are holding one of the finest machines ever made. Its veins branch like rivers, carrying water and nutrients from root to tip. Tiny pores, called stomata, open and close with the rhythm of air letting in carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen and controlling every breath of the planet. Inside each cell, chlorophyll captures sunlight, turning photons into food, energy into form. A leaf may seem still, but within its fragile skin lies the architecture of survival. Each leaf is unique. No two ever share the same pattern or network of veins. They are the fingerprints of the forest, soft, temporary, yet precise. Some leaves track the movement of the sun across the sky, folding at dusk and waking again with the dawn. Others repel water with microscopic hairs, letting raindrops roll away like beads of glass. And some, in places of deep cold, hold warmth within them, storing sunlight for hours after the light has gone. If you could shrink yourself to the size of a dust mote and walk across a leaf, you'd find a landscape alive with movement. Gases flowing like wind, water pulsing through invisible tunnels, cells opening and closing like breathing lungs. Even now, the very air around you is being remade by millions of these quiet green engines. Without them, there would be no air to breathe, no rain to fall, no color to rest your eyes upon. To look at a leaf is to see Earth's genius in miniature, a lesson in how simplicity can be perfect. But some leaves glow not only with sunlight, but with light of their own. Imagine walking along a quiet shore at night, where each step sends a wave of blue-green shimmer through the sea. This is bioluminescence, one of nature's most mesmerizing illusions. The glow doesn't come from reflection or moonlight. It is life itself, shining from within. Tiny organisms called bioluminescent plankton drift through the oceans. When disturbed by a swimmer, a passing fish, or the motion of the tide, they release a soft, cold light. Each flash is a chemical reaction. The enzyme luciferase meets a molecule called luciferin, releasing energy as light instead of heat. The result is a living aurora beneath the waves. In certain places, Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, the shores of the Maldives, and the dark lagoons of Vietnam, entire coastlines can shimmer as if the stars have fallen into the sea. Every movement leaves a glowing trail, a trace of wonder that fades almost as quickly as it appears. Fireflies use the same chemistry in the sky above, turning forests into fields of floating light. Even in the deep ocean, where sunlight never reaches, bioluminescence reigns. Down there, light is communication, a language written in pulses and glow. Some creatures use it to attract prey, others to hide, and some simply to speak in color where sound cannot travel. Squid flash warnings to one another. Jellyfish illuminate their transparent bodies like floating lanterns. The anglerfish, drifting in darkness, uses a glowing lure to draw curious victims close. This world of living light reminds us that illumination doesn't always come from the sun. It can rise from the depths, from the heart of life itself. Even on land, echoes of that glow remain. The foxfire fungus lights up rotting wood in faint emerald hues, a forest lantern powered by decay. It's nature's reminder that even in death, there can be beauty, that transformation itself can shine. And while the oceans glow and forests breathe, another miracle unfolds inside you. Your body, too, is a world within worlds, more microbial than human. For every cell that carries your DNA, there are at least 1.5 that do not. They are bacteria, fungi, archaea, and viruses, living in and around you in an invisible balance known as the microbiome. Most of them are your allies. They digest what you cannot, help you produce vitamins, protect you from infection, and even influence your mood and behavior. When you eat, they feast. When you rest, they maintain the quiet machinery that keeps you alive. It's estimated that over 39 trillion microbial cells call you home more than the stars visible in the night sky. These unseen companions form ecosystems within you, lush, microscopic forests of cooperation. They communicate with your immune system, teach it who is friend and who is foe, and shape the way you respond to the world. Some species live only on your skin, others deep in your gut, and all of them together form an intricate symphony of survival. You are not a single being, but a colony, a planet of consciousness wrapped in skin. Think of that for a moment. The breath you take nourishes the forest. The food you eat feeds your microbiome, and the microbiome in turn sustains your body. From macrocosm to microcosm, Earth repeats its pattern, a rhythm of giving, receiving, and renewal. The same logic that binds trees through fungal threads binds you through cellular life. It is the same intelligence, scaled from forest to flesh. So when you feel alone, remember you are not one, you are millions. A living constellation of microscopic allies working together so you can dream, think, and heal. Just as the ocean glows with plankton and the soil pulses with fungi, your body hums with light of its own. You are, in every sense, part of the Earth's living circuit, a fragment of its quiet brilliance, glowing softly in the dark. The leaf, the ocean, the forest, and the self all are mirrors of one another. Each breath you take, each beat of your heart, each flicker of light across the sea is the same message whispered through different forms, that life, in its endless variety, is one great conversation. And you, right now, are listening to it unfold. Beneath the surface of the earth, among roots and shadows, another kind of intelligence moves quiet, collective, and ancient. In the soil beneath every forest lies a vast network of life, where communication doesn't happen through sound or sight, but through touch, chemistry, and time. It's a world ruled not by animals or plants, but by something older, fungi. The mycorrhizal network, often called the Wood Wide Web, connects nearly every tree and plant on land. Each thread of fungal fiber thinner than a strand of hair can stretch for kilometers underground, binding the forest together like nerves in a great green mind. Through it, trees share sugars, nutrients, and messages. When one tree is attacked by insects, it sends out chemical signals through the network. Nearby trees receive the warning and begin producing defensive compounds, long before the danger reaches them. This isn't thought as we know it, it's a biological intelligence written in molecules, a conversation carried by the slow pulse of life beneath the soil. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, feed younger ones through this hidden web, funneling carbon and water to seedlings growing in shade. Even dying trees give their last reserves to others before they fall. In the darkness below, the forest behaves less like a collection of individuals and more like a single, breathing organism. Each fungus, each root, each droplet of moisture plays its part in this grand exchange, and yet we barely notice it. We walk over it every day, unaware that underfoot lies a system more complex than any computer we've ever built. It's as if the planet itself has woven a living internet, a neural network that keeps the world in balance. But fungi don't just connect. Some also control shaping behavior, rewriting instinct, and turning life into a stage for their strange art. Among the most haunting examples is Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, the so-called zombie fungus. It infects ants, entering their bodies as invisible spores carried through the forest air. Once inside, it spreads quietly, releasing chemicals that take over the ant's nervous system. The ant begins to climb up a stem, a leaf, or a branch until it reaches just the right height and humidity. Then it stops, bites down, and freezes. From there, the fungus grows outward, killing its host and sprouting a long stalk from the back of its head. When the time is right, it releases a new cloud of spores, ready to drift and begin the cycle again. It's gruesome, yes, but also astonishingly precise. A biological choreography that has evolved over millions of years. Scientists still don't fully understand how the fungus controls the ant so completely. It doesn't destroy the brain outright. It manipulates it, rewriting movement like a puppeteer guiding invisible strings. This eerie partnership between parasite and host is both terrifying and elegant. It reminds us that life is not governed by cruelty or kindness, but by adaptation, by the endless drive to survive in whatever form works best. And in that sense, The fungus and the ant are part of the same pattern that shapes all things. Balance through transformation. Not all fungi are sinister. Many are architects of life itself. They break down dead matter, recycle nutrients, and feed forests from below. Without them, soil would collapse into sterility, and decay would overtake growth. Every leaf that falls, every fallen tree, every creature that returns to the ground, all are taken apart and remade by fungi. Through death, they create life anew. The air you breathe carries their invisible spores, drifting endlessly, connecting you to the hidden breath of the forest. In the same way, life above ground tells its own stories of adaptation, of survival, written not in silence, but in color. One of the rarest and most captivating hues in nature is blue. The sky and sea appear blue, yes, but that color is not born of pigment. It's an illusion created by the scattering of light. And in living things, true blue pigment is almost non-existent. The feathers of a blue jay, the wings of a morpho butterfly, the shimmering neck of a peacock, none of them actually contain blue dye. Instead, they rely on structural coloration, microscopic patterns that bend and scatter light in just the right way to reflect blue wavelengths. It's light, tricked into beauty by structure. This means that if you crushed a blue feather or wing, the color would vanish. It isn't painted on, it's built from shape itself. This trick of light, repeated again and again across the natural world, is another form of genius. It shows us that beauty can emerge not from what something is, but from how it's arranged. A reminder that perception itself is an art. The blue of a butterfly's wing, the gleam of the ocean, the haze of the sky, all are illusions built on structure and light. They are not solid but fleeting, and yet their effect is powerful enough to move the human heart. Perhaps that's the essence of Earth's creativity. It doesn't cling to permanence. It builds miracles out of movement, color from emptiness, light from form, life from decay. The forest grows because fungi break down the fallen. The ocean shines because invisible plankton ignite it. And somewhere, an ant climbs to its final perch because a fungus told it to. From the smallest cell to the vastest color in the sky, nature is always inventing, always communicating in ways beyond our comprehension. And if we listen not with our ears, but with our awareness, we may begin to sense that intelligence is everywhere. In light, in soil, in silence. There is no hierarchy, only connection. The world beneath your feet is just as alive as the one above your head, and all of it together, fungi, trees, colors, and creatures, forms the grand unseen mind of the earth, thinking slowly, breathing deeply, dreaming in patterns of life and decay. Every thread of fungus, every glint of blue, every shift between life and death is part of that dream. And as you close your eyes tonight, you are drifting inside it, not outside observer but participant. You are one note in an endless symphony of creation, and the earth, patient and alive, keeps humming the melody beneath you. Among the wide grasslands and quiet savannas, there are creatures that remind us of something deeply human: emotion. Among them, none are more striking than the elephants. They move in silence, in families bound by memory, their heavy steps echoing across dust and wind. But what makes them extraordinary is not their size or strength, it's their heart. When an elephant encounters the bones of one of its kind, it does something rare in the animal world. It stops. It lowers its trunk, touching the remains gently, tracing the shape of a skull, as if remembering a face. Sometimes it lingers for hours, silent, still. Scientists have observed herds returning to the same place years later, touching, smelling, and standing guard over the bones of their dead. It is, by every measure, a gesture of grief. They mourn. They comfort one another. They even refuse to abandon the dying, staying close until the very end. We may never know what they think or feel in those moments, but the tenderness is unmistakable. In their mourning, we glimpse something beyond instinct, a recognition that life, in all its strength, is fragile. To grieve is to understand impermanence, and elephants, in their quiet rituals, remind us that compassion is not exclusive to humans. It is older than language, older than thought, a shared pulse among the living. From that same compassion, another world rises beneath the waves. There, in the warm blue shallows, millions of tiny architects work without pause, building empires of color. They are coral polyps, small animals that construct some of the most magnificent structures on Earth, the coral reefs. Each polyp builds a tiny limestone home around itself, and together they form vast underwater cities. Over centuries, these cities grow layer upon layer until they stretch for hundreds of miles. The Great Barrier Reef, visible even from space, is not a single organism, but a community of billions, alive and intertwined. Despite covering less than 1% of the ocean floor, reefs support nearly a quarter of all marine life. They are the lungs, nurseries, and libraries of the sea. Fish weave between branches of coral like birds through forest trees. Crustaceans hide in crevices, sea turtles glide overhead, and plankton drift through the shimmering water like dust motes in sunlight. The entire ecosystem depends on the coral's patient labor, a slow, silent architecture that takes centuries to rise and only moments to fall. Because coral is delicate, too much heat, too much acid, and the partnership that sustains them, the one between the coral animal and the algae that feed it, begins to break. When that happens, the coral turns pale, losing its vibrant colors in an event called bleaching. And yet, even then, the ocean doesn't give up. Reefs recover when waters cool. New coral grows, and life begins again. Resilience, it seems, is the ocean's oldest language. There is another form of intelligence hidden in the shadows of the forest, one that doesn't breathe, or see, or even think in any way we would recognize. It looks like something from a dream, the slime mold. Neither animal nor plant, it moves like a thought, slow and deliberate, flowing across wood and soil in search of food. It has no brain, no nerves, no eyes, and yet it can solve mazes. In laboratory experiments, scientists placed food at 2 exits of a complex maze and set a slime mold loose inside. It spread out in all directions, exploring every path. Then, slowly, it retracted its body, leaving behind only the most efficient route between the 2 points. It had found the shortest path, a problem that would challenge even a computer. Without neurons, without logic, it had made a decision. Slime molds navigate by sensing chemical gradients, responding to the faintest cues of nutrients and moisture. They remember paths they've taken before and avoid repeating mistakes. Their intelligence isn't conscious, but it's undeniable, a networked awareness that echoes the pattern of neurons, cities, and even galaxies. Scientists have used slime molds to model transportation systems, mapping networks that mirror the subways of Tokyo and the roads of ancient Rome. And so, what seems like a patch of yellow jelly crawling across wood is, in truth, one of the simplest yet most profound teachers in nature. It reminds us that thought doesn't always require a brain. Sometimes it only needs sensitivity and time. From elephants that grieve to slime molds that calculate, Earth continues to blur the lines between emotion and logic, heart and mind. Life, it turns out, is not a ladder, but a web woven from different kinds of awareness, each sacred in its own way. If elephants carry wisdom in their memory and corals in their patience, then slime molds carry it in their rhythm. All three, though worlds apart, are connected by the same quiet persistence, the will to keep shaping, feeling, and adapting. They are living metaphors for the earth itself, emotional, intelligent, and deeply, beautifully alive. Pause for a moment and breathe that in. You live on a planet where animals mourn, oceans build, and cells without brains can still make choices. This is not chaos. This is coordination, a choreography so vast and subtle that it becomes invisible to our eyes. But it is there, pulsing beneath everything, like the heartbeat of the world. Perhaps the most comforting thought is that none of this happens alone. Every act of life, from coral building to mourning, from photosynthesis to decay, is part of a vast collaboration, an orchestra of existence, conducted by time and played by all that has ever lived. And as you exhale, you join that orchestra again. Your breath feeds the ocean. Your silence nourishes the forest. Your being adds another note to the song of earth, because even when you rest, the world continues to create. So close your eyes and imagine the coral glowing softly beneath the waves, the elephants standing quietly among the bones, and the slime mold tracing golden paths through the dark. Each is performing its role in the same ancient symphony, a reminder that on this planet, life is never still, never meaningless, never alone. High above the Amazon canopy, clouds begin to form not from the sea, but from the forest itself. Each leaf releases a faint mist of moisture into the air, rising with the heat of the sun. Billions of trees exhale together, weaving vapor into clouds that drift and condense into rain. When that rain falls, it feeds the roots that will one day return it to the sky. This endless exchange, the breath of the rainforest, is one of the most extraordinary processes on Earth. The Amazon doesn't just absorb rain, it creates it. Every day, this living system releases nearly 20 billion tons of water into the atmosphere. The vapor rises, cools, and becomes the very weather that sustains it. In doing so, the forest becomes its own climate, a heartbeat that drives the pattern of rain across South America. Scientists call this cycle biotic pumping, a self-sustaining rhythm that links forest, air, and ocean in a continuous flow. When the trees thrive, the skies stay generous. When the trees fall, the rhythm falters. Fewer clouds mean less rain, and less rain means fewer trees. It's a fragile harmony, a reminder that stability, in nature, is not stillness but balance. Imagine the forest as a single organism, roots like veins, rivers like arteries, and clouds like breath. Every tree that falls changes the pulse. Every seed that grows sets the rhythm again. The Amazon, vast and untamed, is not just a collection of plants, it's the lungs of the planet. And when it exhales, the world breathes with it. This cycle is not unique. The entire Earth functions as one interconnected system of cause and renewal. Volcanoes release minerals that feed plankton. Plankton create oxygen that shapes the atmosphere. The atmosphere feeds the rain that nourishes forests, and the forests feed us all. It's a loop so intricate and ancient that it predates any form of consciousness. Even now, while you listen, this exchange continues. Moisture rises from soil to sky, from sky to river, from river to root. Energy flows in every direction, unseen but undeniable. And in that quiet motion, you can sense something profound. That life on Earth does not survive despite change, but because of it. In the frozen silence of the northern world, another miracle plays out, one born not of heat, but of cold. There, hidden beneath layers of ice, live the wood frogs, small, unassuming creatures that can quite literally freeze solid and live. As winter grips the land, the frog's body slows to a standstill. Its heart stops, its lungs cease, water in its blood crystallizes, and its tissues grow rigid with ice. To the casual eye, it appears dead, a tiny sculpture caught in time. But deep inside, its cells are protected by natural antifreeze, sugars and proteins that keep them from bursting. When spring returns, the frog thaws. Its heart begins to beat again, blood flows, and life resumes as though death had simply been a long sleep. This extraordinary process, known as cryogenic survival, has fascinated scientists for decades. It challenges our very definition of what it means to be alive. For the frog, death is not an ending, it is a pause. A reminder that even in stillness, life is waiting. Perfectly patient, perfectly timed. If the frog's secret is survival through silence, then the next wonder of earth is song vast, resonant, and ancient. Beneath the waves of the world's oceans, whales sing to one another across unimaginable distances. Their calls travel hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles, carried by deep currents of sound. These are not random noises, they are structured melodies, each population with its own dialect, its own rhythm that changes over time like evolving music. A blue whale's call is among the lowest sounds on Earth, a note so deep that you feel it more than you hear it. It can travel through water for thousands of kilometers, a message echoing through the darkness. Humpback whales create songs that can last for hours, woven with repetition and variation like symphonies. And in a way, that's exactly what they are, songs of the sea, sung not for us but for each other, for navigation, for love, for memory. Each year, their songs shift slightly, as if rewritten by the collective voice of the pod. Scientists have found that whale populations share and remix melodies, spreading them across entire oceans like cultural waves. It's communication, but also heritage, a musical record of generations echoing in water. To listen to a whale is to hear time itself, the sound of ancient knowledge carried by creatures who have swum the seas for longer than humans have walked the earth. And when their songs meet the light of dawn, the ocean seems to breathe with them. From rainforests that build their own clouds to frogs that freeze in silence, from plankton that make oxygen to whales that sing across continents, the earth is filled with systems that seem like magic, but are simply balance in motion. Everything is cyclical. The forest feeds the sky feeds the rain feeds the soil. The frog freezes to survive the winter and thaws to sing in the spring. The whale's voice travels through the sea, shaping unseen connections that hold entire ecosystems together. And we fragile, thoughtful, temporary, are part of that same pattern. Every breath, every heartbeat, every whisper of curiosity places us inside this grand equation of life. The rain that falls today might one day rise as your breath. The sound of a whale might echo faintly in the rhythm of your heart. And in every drop of water, from forest to ocean, the same truth is spoken again and again. The world lives through connection. It is not enough to see Earth as home. It is us, a living memory, a continuous story that never stops unfolding. So when you listen to the rain or hear the sigh of the sea, remember, you're hearing the same rhythm that has moved through this planet for billions of years. The rhythm that keeps everything, frog, whale, forest, and human, beautifully, endlessly alive. And as that rhythm flows through you tonight, let your own breath join it, slow, even, steady. The forest exhales, the clouds form, the rain returns. Everything moves, everything rests, everything continues. The earth does not end when you sleep, it dreams with you. If the ocean could dream, its memories would take the shape of seeds, tiny, patient, and full of potential, each one a time capsule, each one a promise. Seeds are the Earth's oldest travelers, carrying the blueprint of life across centuries, winds, and storms. They wait for the right moment, not too soon, not too late to awaken. And in that patience lies one of the most profound lessons nature has to offer. Life knows how to wait. Some seeds remain dormant for decades, sealed in the dark, buried deep beneath soil or stone. Others survive fire, ice, even salt water. In 2005, scientists revived a date palm seed found in an ancient fortress in Israel. A seed that had been sleeping for 2,000 years. When it finally sprouted, green leaves unfurled into the light of a new age, carrying DNA from a tree that had witnessed empires rise and fall. It was as if time itself had taken a breath. Seeds endure because they are masters of preservation. They carry not only genetic code but memory of temperature, of moisture, of season. Some wait for a single drop of rain, others for fire to clear the ground. Each species has its own signal, its own rhythm of rebirth. And when that moment comes, they don't simply grow, they return. To watch a seed break open is to see creation in slow motion. A shell cracks, a root finds the earth, a stem reaches for light it has never seen, but somehow knows exists. It's instinct, yes, but it's also faith, the quiet certainty that warmth will come, that light will return. In that small, delicate gesture, the entire story of the planet is repeated. And light, as it turns out, is far older than any forest or flower. The glow of life, the gentle radiance of fireflies, plankton, and fungi, is a language written into evolution itself. This phenomenon, called bioluminescence, has evolved at least 40 separate times in the history of life on Earth. From bacteria to jellyfish, from squids to mushrooms, nature keeps rediscovering the art of light. In the dark of the ocean, where sunlight never reaches, bioluminescence is more common than darkness. Creatures there flash and flicker, sending signals that say, "Come closer," "Stay away," or "I'm here." The anglerfish dangles its glowing lure like a false star in the abyss. The firefly squid paints galaxies in motion as it rises from the depths at night. And deep-sea jellyfish pulse like cosmic lanterns, turning the black water into a cathedral of color. Even in forests, light finds its way into unlikely forms. Foxfire fungi illuminate the ground with green-blue light, glowing softly among fallen leaves. Their glow serves no clear survival purpose. Perhaps it attracts insects to spread spores, or perhaps, like so many wonders of nature, it's simply beauty that needs no reason. The chemistry of bioluminescence is elegantly simple. An enzyme, luciferase, reacts with a molecule called luciferin. Energy is released not as heat, but as light, a flame that never burns. And from this humble chemical exchange, life has written its poetry of glow for more than 500 million years. It's light without fire, warmth without flame, language without words. If you've ever stood on a beach at night and seen the water flash under your feet, you've witnessed one of Earth's most timeless miracles, a reminder that the planet itself still dreams in color. In those glowing waves, we see the memory of ancient stars. For the light that burns in the ocean, in the air, and in our cells was born long before Earth even existed. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your skin, all were forged in the heart of ancient stars that lived and died billions of years ago. When those stars exploded, they scattered their elements across the galaxy, seeding space itself with the ingredients of future worlds. Over eons, that stardust gathered into clouds, planets, oceans, and finally, into you. It isn't metaphor, it's physics. You are literally made of the ashes of stars, the universe learning to look at itself. Every breath you take is filled with particles that once drifted through supernovae. Every cell carries atoms that burned in stellar cores. You are the continuation of cosmic history, condensed into thought and heartbeat. When you look at the night sky, remember that you are not simply observing light from distant suns. You are recognizing something familiar, the same substance that built your body. The same dust that glows in nebulae now glows faintly inside you. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are one of its expressions. The stars are not far away. They are within your blood. And when the light of the stars meets the light of Earth, when the glow of plankton mirrors the Milky Way above, the boundary between heaven and ocean disappears. It becomes a single reflection, sky and sea, life and cosmos, mirroring each other endlessly. That is the secret beauty of this planet. It doesn't exist apart from the universe. It is the universe, concentrated into life, folded into form, and given the ability to wonder about itself. The ocean glows, the forest breathes, the stars burn, and you, made of all three, are the point where they meet. When you close your eyes tonight, imagine that glow, the faint shimmer in the sea, the green fire of fungi, the pulse of a faraway star. They are all connected by one truth, that energy never dies, it only changes shape. And through that transformation, the universe keeps dreaming through light, through life, through you. So when you breathe in, you are taking in a bit of the stars. When you exhale, you return that gift to the world. Everything you are, every thought, every atom has belonged to the cosmos since the beginning. You don't simply live in the universe. You are the way it experiences itself, one heartbeat at a time. In the stillness of a flower field, something extraordinary is happening, a world beyond human sight. Bees hum from bloom to bloom, carrying life on their tiny legs, guided not only by scent or color but by a hidden spectrum of light. To them, every flower glows in patterns we cannot see, rings, lines, and paths painted in ultraviolet. What looks to us like a simple yellow petal becomes, to a bee, a luminous map leading straight to nectar. It's a reminder that every living being experiences the world differently. Our eyes catch only a sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, a small window in an endless sea of light. To birds, the world is painted in ultraviolet hues. To snakes, it glows with heat. To deep-sea creatures, darkness itself becomes a canvas for bioluminescence. Reality is not one color, but billions, all existing together, unseen by most. The bee's dance between flowers is more than a routine. It's communication. When a worker returns to the hive, she performs the waggle dance, tracing patterns that tell her sisters where the richest blooms lie. The angle of her dance shows the direction of the sun. The length of her waggle reveals the distance. It is mathematics, made visible, instinct, shaped into geometry. Through this elegant ritual, an entire colony moves as one mind. But perhaps the most astonishing thing about bees is not their vision or their choreography, it's their thinking. For years, scientists believed that such small creatures could only act by instinct. Then, in careful experiments, bees began to surprise us. They learned to recognize faces, to count objects, even to understand the concept of zero. Something only a handful of species, including humans, dolphins, and primates, have ever demonstrated. Imagine that a brain smaller than a pinhead, grasping an abstract idea that took humanity millennia to define. Bees can distinguish none from some. They can learn through observation, watching other bees solve problems and imitating them. In one experiment, bees were shown how to roll tiny balls into a target to earn a sugar reward. Not only did they learn quickly, but some even improved the technique, finding faster and more efficient ways to do it. In their buzzing world of sunlight and motion, intelligence hums quietly in miniature form. Each hive is a model of harmony, thousands of individuals, all driven by shared purpose: build, protect, and nourish their colony. No leader commands them. No hierarchy enforces order. Instead, cooperation emerges naturally, the same principle that binds forests and coral reefs. The bees' language is movement, their currency is pollen, and their devotion is to balance. Without bees, most of the plants we rely on would vanish. They are the engineers of fertility, stitching together the web of ecosystems with every flight. 1/3 of the food on our tables exists because of their quiet labor. And yet, their survival grows fragile under the weight of pesticides, habitat loss, and rising temperatures. Each missing hive is more than an ecological tragedy. It's a silenced instrument in Earth's grand orchestra. Still, nature continues to adapt. Some flowers have evolved to vibrate at just the right frequency to attract specific pollinators. Others listen literally to the sound of bees approaching. When a bee's wings buzz near, certain flowers increase the sweetness of their nectar within minutes. A subtle dialogue between vibration and reward. Even without eyes or ears, the natural world hears itself. This mutual awareness, this rhythm of give and receive, runs deeper than we imagine. It extends to the great systems of Earth itself, where invisible currents of energy link sky, soil, and sea. Take, for instance, the magnetic field, the unseen shield that surrounds our planet, protecting it from solar wind and cosmic radiation. While we rarely notice it, many animals sense it as easily as we feel warmth or wind. Birds, sea turtles, and even some fish use the Earth's magnetism as a compass to navigate across continents and oceans. Migratory birds carry microscopic crystals of magnetite in their beaks, allowing them to feel the pull of the poles as they cross thousands of miles of sky. Others, like robins and warblers, may actually see magnetic fields, perceiving faint blue patterns overlaid upon their vision. It's called magnetoreception, a sixth sense built not of magic, but of physics and evolution. Every year, millions of birds embark on journeys longer than we can imagine, flying from the Arctic to the tropics, guided by forces we cannot perceive. They travel through storms, cross oceans, and return to the same nesting sites generation after generation with astonishing precision. How they do it remains one of the most graceful mysteries of science, a reminder that navigation is not only about direction, but about memory, instinct, and the invisible structure of the Earth itself. We, too, are guided by invisible forces: emotion, intuition, gravity, rhythm. Perhaps our own bodies still carry echoes of magnetism, the faint ancestral whisper that once aligned us with the world. When you stand still and feel the pull of north, the warmth of sunlight, or the tug of curiosity, you are responding to the same planetary signals that guide whales and birds. The same currents that carry a bee from bloom to bloom also guide the winds, the tides, and the seasons. All life, from the smallest insect to the migrating bird, moves by the same pulse. Each creature is a compass, each breath a signal, each choice a step in an unending migration toward balance. It is as if the planet itself is teaching us the same quiet wisdom again and again, to move with the Earth, not against it. So next time you see a bee trace circles in the air, or a flock of birds turning in unison against the wind, remember that they are not lost. They are listening to the hum of magnetic lines, to the whisper of light, to the same deep rhythm that hums within you. And when you find yourself still beneath an open sky, take a slow breath and feel that connection. The bees are dancing somewhere in the sun, The birds are following invisible maps across the clouds, and through it all, the earth is quietly guiding everything home. In every direction you turn, something is listening. A flower to a wing beat, a bird to the planet's pull, and you to the heartbeat beneath your feet. To exist on Earth is to belong to this silent communication, an ancient conversation between energy, instinct, and wonder. The Earth breathes, not with lungs or air, but through an ancient rhythm that ties together rock, water, and life itself. It is called the carbon cycle, a planetary heartbeat that has pulsed for billions of years. Every moment, invisible exchanges occur between sky and soil, ocean and atmosphere. When you breathe out, carbon dioxide leaves your lungs and drifts into the air. Plants draw it in through photosynthesis, using sunlight to convert that gas into leaves, stems, and roots. Animals eat those plants. Decomposers break down what remains, returning carbon back to the ground. Volcanoes release it. Oceans absorb it. And over eons, pressure turns ancient life into stone and fossil fuel, a slow conversation between life and the planet that never ends. Without this cycle, the Earth would be unrecognizable. Carbon is not just a chemical element. It is the skeleton of existence, the framework on which all organic life is built. From the sparkle of a diamond to the warmth of a flame, carbon takes countless forms: solid, liquid, gas, moving through creation like a shape-shifting storyteller. Every breath, every forest fire, every grain of soil is part of this flow. For millions of years, this balance held steady. But in our time, the rhythm has quickened. By burning what the earth buried: coal, oil, gas, we have released the stored breath of ancient worlds back into the sky. The air grows heavier, the oceans more acidic, and the climate warmer. Yet even this is part of the planet's great story. A reminder that when balance is broken, nature responds not with anger, but with correction. It's easy to think of climate as something separate, something vast and abstract, but it's as intimate as your own heartbeat. The warmth you feel on your skin, the rain that touches your hands, the fruit that grows on your table, all are written by the chemistry of carbon. In caring for this cycle, we are caring for ourselves. The same element that builds our bodies also builds the bones of mountains and the shells of coral. It passes from life to death, from air to stone, again and again, never lost, only transformed. To live consciously on this planet is to understand that transformation is not destruction, but continuity. Nothing is wasted. Everything returns. Before there were forests, before there was even air to breathe, it was bacteria who first began this work. Tiny architects of the planet, they shaped the world long before any other form of life appeared. They built structures called stromatolites, layered mounds of sediment bound together by living colonies of microbes. These strange, rock-like formations still exist today in shallow waters of Western Australia, whispering stories from 3.5 billion years ago. Back then, Earth's sky was orange and its oceans were green with iron. No animals walked, no trees reached upward. Only microbial mats spread across the seabed, capturing sunlight and releasing oxygen into the world for the first time. The Great Oxidation Event, the birth of breathable air, began here, in silence, beneath alien waves. Those same bacteria, in their slow persistence, laid the foundation for every breath we take today. The legacy of those early microbes can still be seen, not only in fossils, but in us. The mitochondria within your cells, the powerhouses that keep you alive, were once free-living bacteria that joined forces with larger cells in a pact of survival. It was one of the first great mergers in history, an alliance that transformed life forever. Even now, your heartbeat carries the echo of that ancient agreement. From microbes to humans, cooperation has always been the universe's favorite strategy. The forest's fungi share nutrients among trees. Coral polyps build cities from calcium. Bacteria build continents grain by grain. Everywhere you look, life thrives through connection, not competition. Evolution doesn't only reward the strongest, it rewards the most collaborative. And deep in the ocean, that principle takes on another form entirely. There, dolphins glide through silver water, moving in pods as graceful as constellations. Their clicks and whistles weave through the current, a language as complex as our own, filled with identity, memory, and emotion. Each dolphin has a signature whistle, a sound that functions like a name. Others learn it, remember it, and use it to call that individual even across long distances. It's not mimicry, it's recognition. In experiments, when a dolphin hears a recording of its own whistle, it responds instantly, a clear sign of self-awareness, of individuality. They use sound not only to communicate, but to see. Through echolocation, they send out bursts of high-frequency clicks that bounce off nearby objects. By listening to the returning echoes, they build a mental image of their surroundings, an acoustic vision that works even in total darkness. It's sonar, but it's also song. To swim among dolphins is to be surrounded by invisible art, a symphony of clicks, buzzes, and melodies that carry laughter, warning, and curiosity. Each note is information, each pause a decision, and though we still struggle to translate their full meaning, one thing is clear. These creatures are aware, emotional, and intelligent in ways that blur the boundary between us and them. Perhaps intelligence itself is not measured in words or tools, but in empathy, the ability to recognize another being as yourself. By that definition, dolphins, elephants, birds, and even trees share in the same consciousness that humans claim as their own. When a dolphin calls to its companion across a blue horizon, when coral polyps feed one another beneath the waves, when bacteria share molecules across stone and time, they are all performing the same act: participation in the unity of life. The earth doesn't just host life, it is life. Every cell, every tide, every whisper of breath is part of a vast, continuous intelligence. And to listen to it even for a moment is to hear the heartbeat of the planet beneath your own. The next time you breathe, imagine that carbon passing through you. From leaf to air, from ocean to stone, from whale to wind. It's the same carbon that once formed the bones of mountains and the shells of ancient creatures. It's the same breath shared by dolphins, trees, and stars. In this endless exchange, there are no boundaries, only the slow pulse of one living world, changing shape, but never truly ending. The desert seems silent, lifeless, a golden expanse of dust and heat stretching to the horizon. But once, not so long ago, it was green. The Sahara Desert, the largest hot desert on Earth, was once a lush paradise filled with rivers, lakes, and forests. Between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago, rain fell regularly on its surface. Elephants wandered through tall grass, crocodiles swam in wide rivers, and humans painted scenes of abundance on cave walls. The Sahara was alive. This period is known as the African Humid Period, a time when subtle shifts in Earth's orbit changed the balance of the seasons. Monsoons strengthened, rainfall increased, and the desert blossomed into a savanna. For thousands of years, life flourished. Then, as the planet's tilt slowly shifted again, the rains began to fade. The grasslands dried, rivers retreated underground, and what was once paradise transformed into a sea of sand. Even today, Beneath the dunes, traces of that lost world remain: fossilized trees, ancient lake beds, shells buried in stone. The Sahara is not only a desert, it's a memory, a reminder that no landscape is fixed, that change is the only constant in nature's vocabulary. Every grain of sand there was once part of a mountain, worn down by wind, and every windstorm is still sculpting the future shape of the land. To understand the earth is to understand that time is an artist, patient, relentless, and precise. Mountains rise, oceans withdraw, forests turn to stone. It's a story of destruction that always ends in renewal. And through it all, life endures not because it resists change, but because it adapts to it. Consider the wolves of Yellowstone, how their return changed an entire landscape. In 1995, wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park after nearly 70 years of absence. Their presence sparked one of the most extraordinary ecological transformations ever observed. A trophic cascade, a chain reaction that showed how deeply everything is connected. With wolves gone, deer and elk had multiplied, overgrazing valleys and riverbanks. When wolves returned, they hunted the herds not to extinction, but into movement. Deer began avoiding certain areas, allowing plants and young trees to recover. Soon, willows and aspens grew taller. Birds came back. Beavers returned, building dams that created new ponds and wetlands. Fish thrived in the restored waters, and even the rivers themselves changed course, stabilized by the renewed vegetation along their banks. The wolves never touched the rivers directly, yet their influence shaped every ripple. That is the genius of nature's design. Every creature is a keystone, and even a single howl can shift the geometry of an ecosystem. Balance, once restored, brings life back not through dominance, but through presence. While wolves reshape the land through action, flowers have learned to change their world through listening. We think of them as still, passive, silent, but new science suggests they are anything but. When bees buzz nearby, the vibration of their wings resonates through a flower's petals. Within minutes, that flower produces sweeter nectar, a precise and immediate response to sound. The plant doesn't have ears or nerves, yet it senses vibration and acts upon it. This discovery revealed a deeper truth. The garden is not silent. It hums with quiet communication. Leaves tremble with wind and sound, stems flex to music we cannot hear, and roots send warnings when danger approaches. It's not the language of words, but of frequencies and chemistry, a dialogue older than speech itself. Everywhere we look, life is listening, not in the way we do, but in a way more fundamental, an awareness woven into the very structure of existence. Sound becomes signal, vibration becomes meaning, and the entire planet responds. Even stone resonates with the deep frequencies of earthquakes and waves. In a sense, Earth itself is one immense instrument, and every action, from the flap of a wing to the crack of ice, adds another note to its timeless song. In this orchestra of living and non-living things, harmony is rarely quiet. It's dynamic, always adjusting. If wolves can change rivers and flowers can hear, then what other forms of intelligence surround us, waiting for us to notice? There are partnerships so strange they seem impossible, and yet they define the fabric of ecosystems. Take the lichen, that humble, colorful crust you see clinging to rocks and tree bark. It is not one organism but two, sometimes even three, living as one. A fungus provides shelter and structure. An alga or cyanobacterium lives inside, performing photosynthesis, creating food from sunlight. Together, they survive in places too harsh for either alone: frozen cliffs, bare stone, the surface of the Arctic tundra. The fungus protects its partner from drying and radiation, while the alga feeds the fungus with sugar and oxygen. Their union is not always peaceful. Sometimes one dominates the other, but the result is resilience. A composite life form that can endure extremes of heat, cold, and time. Lichens are pioneers of life, the first to colonize barren landscapes. They slowly break down rock into soil, paving the way for mosses, grasses, and forests to come. In their quiet persistence lies a philosophy: strength through unity, survival through cooperation. From deserts that bloom and fade, to wolves that restore rivers, to flowers that hear the hum of bees, the lesson remains the same. Every part of the earth listens, reacts, and transforms. Change is not chaos, it's conversation. Deserts speak through wind, forests through roots, and coral reefs through light. The earth does not resist transformation, it is transformation. So, when you hear the whisper of wind through dry grass or see patterns forming in drifting sand, know that you are witnessing the planet thinking in motion. Each dune, each petal, each paw print in the mud is part of the same dialogue, the long and patient conversation between life and time. And maybe, as you rest beneath the same sky that watched the Sahara turn from green to gold, you'll realize that change is not something to fear. It is the way the earth breathes, the rhythm that binds us all. Everything ends, everything begins again. Far beneath the canopy of the rainforest and the roots of the mountains lies a realm that is neither plant nor animal, a kingdom of fungi, silent engineers shaping the balance of life and death. If trees are the lungs of the earth, fungi are its circulatory system. They carry nutrients where they are needed, recycle what is spent, and dissolve what once seemed permanent. Every leaf that falls, every creature that dies, eventually passes through their unseen hands. Among these quiet architects exists one of nature's strangest and most haunting stories: the Ophiocordyceps fungus, the so-called zombie fungus. It begins with a single spore drifting through the humid air until it lands on the body of an ant. The spore pierces the exoskeleton and begins to grow, weaving through muscle and nerve. The ant continues its life, unaware that its body is no longer entirely its own. Then, as the fungus spreads, something remarkable happens. The ant climbs. It leaves its colony and walks upward up a blade of grass, a twig, a branch, stopping at a height chosen not by itself but by the fungus within. There, it bites down and locks its jaws. It will never move again. The fungus completes its work, consuming the host from the inside, and then, from the back of the ant's head, it sprouts a slender stalk that releases spores into the forest air to begin the cycle anew. It is a scene at once terrifying and beautiful, a reminder that nature's creativity knows no boundaries. Scientists still do not fully understand how the fungus manipulates the ant's behavior so precisely. It doesn't simply destroy the brain, it hijacks it, altering instinct, movement, and purpose. What appears as horror is, in truth, biology at its most intricate. A macabre dance choreographed by chemistry and time. But fungi are not merely destroyers, they are also healers, builders, and connectors. They create antibiotics that save lives, enrich soil that feeds forests, and link plants in a network of exchange more complex than any human economy. They show us that decay is not the opposite of life, it's the continuation of it. Every act of decomposition is an act of renewal. And through that renewal, the world endures even the greatest catastrophes. Over the last 500 million years, Earth has faced at least 5 mass extinctions, events so devastating that they erased most of the life existing at the time. Asteroids struck, Volcanoes darkened the skies, continents shifted, and seas turned to poison. Each time, more than 70 or even 90% of species vanished. And yet, after every ending, life found a way to begin again. The worst of them all, known as the Permian extinction, occurred about 252 million years ago. It wiped out over 90% of marine species and most land animals. The Earth became quiet, almost still, an age of silence and ash. But from the few survivors, new forms emerged. Amphibians gave rise to reptiles. Reptiles gave rise to mammals. Forests grew once more. Coral returned to the seas, and the rhythm of evolution resumed its patient song. If extinction is nature's reset, then rebirth is its answer. The history of life is not a straight line of progress. It's a cycle of collapse and renewal, a story of transformation through loss. Even now, traces of those past worlds remain. Fossilized forests in rock, ancient shells embedded in mountains, and in every living cell, the memory of ancestors who endured the unendurable. In a way, the Earth itself practices resilience the same way fungi do. When struck, it regrows. When burned, it rebuilds. When emptied, it fills again. That is the secret of survival. Not to resist destruction, but to transform it. The same lesson appears again in the smallest creatures. Deep in the ocean, the tardigrades, the tiny water bears, can survive freezing, boiling, radiation, even the vacuum of space. When conditions become unbearable, they curl into stillness, suspending their biology until the world becomes hospitable again. When they awaken, they carry on as if nothing happened, tiny ambassadors of endurance. And on land, others have evolved to manipulate time in their own way. In the sun-baked deserts of Australia, female kangaroos can pause their pregnancies. When conditions are harsh, or when one joey still nurses in her pouch, the embryo waiting in her womb simply stops developing, its growth frozen, until food and rain return. Then, at the right moment, the process resumes. One mother may carry 3 generations at once, a grown joey outside, a nursing one in her pouch, and another unborn life quietly waiting for its time. It is an adaptation so precise it almost feels like magic, a reminder that time itself is a tool life can learn to bend. From microscopic spores that command ants to marsupials that halt life mid-beat, the planet keeps inventing new ways to endure. And when we look closely, we begin to see a pattern. Every miracle of survival, whether fungus, kangaroo, or tardigrade, shares the same principle: patience, the ability to pause, to wait, to adapt rather than resist. Life survives not by conquering chaos, but by flowing with it. Perhaps that is why, even after every extinction, the Earth always returns greener, louder, and more intricate than before. From ash, fungi rise. From silence, the song begins again. And in that endless cycle of death and renewal, there is no final tragedy, only transformation. If you listen closely to the soil beneath you, to the quiet hum of decay and rebirth happening just below the surface, you can almost hear it. The earth whispering its oldest truth, that everything which falls will one day rise again, and everything that ends will eventually learn to begin anew. The fungi, the frog, the kangaroo, each in their own way, is a keeper of that truth. They remind us that survival is not about defiance. It's about rhythm, about knowing when to move and when to wait. And in their patience, the planet itself keeps time, turning ruin into creation, silence into song. When light touches a peacock's feather or the wing of a butterfly, it reveals a secret hidden in the structure of the world. That vibrant blue shimmer, the dazzling emerald glow, they are not painted with pigment, but crafted by architecture. Microscopic layers of keratin and air bend and scatter light, separating it into its spectral colors. It's called structural coloration, and it creates illusions so perfect that the color you see doesn't actually exist, not in ink or dye, but in the geometry of life itself. The morpho butterfly, found in the rainforests of South America, owes its brilliant metallic blue to nanoscopic ridges on its wings. Each ridge acts like a prism, reflecting blue light while absorbing the rest. When it flies, sunlight ripples across its wings like liquid, a flash of color that can be seen from far away, not to attract danger, but to hypnotize it. Even the blue jay, whose feathers contain no pigment at all, wears the same trick of light. Crush one of its feathers, and the blue vanishes, replaced by dull brown dust. The color was never in the bird. It was in the way the world saw it. There is poetry in that, the idea that beauty can come not from what something is, but from the way it interacts with the light that touches it. A lesson written across wings and feathers, teaching us that perception itself can be creation. Not all of Earth's wonders are so delicate. Some are vast, heavy with memory and emotion. Among the savannas and grasslands, the elephants move slowly beneath the sun. They are the keepers of remembrance, creatures whose intelligence reaches far beyond survival. When an elephant encounters the bones of one of its kin, it pauses, touching them with its trunk, turning them gently as if in recognition. They grieve, they linger, they remember. Herds have been observed revisiting the same places for years, standing silently over the remains of those who came before. Their mourning is quiet, but profound, a form of empathy so ancient it humbles us. They do not need words to know what loss feels like. They carry it in the same deep place where love and loyalty reside. In them, we glimpse the universal truth that emotion is not a human invention. It is a language shared by life itself. When elephants raise their trunks to the wind, they are listening. For scent, for vibration, for the unspoken messages of the herd. Their ears fan like sails, catching frequencies we cannot hear. Some of their calls travel for miles, carried through the ground as tremors rather than sound. They communicate in ways that blend the physical and the emotional, woven together by a sensitivity that no technology has yet matched. This awareness, this quiet intelligence, extends far beyond any single species. In the ocean, coral reefs, built by creatures no larger than a grain of rice, create cities as complex as human metropolises. Each coral polyp lives in partnership with microscopic algae, a collaboration so intricate that one cannot survive without the other. The algae feed the coral through photosynthesis, while the coral shelters the algae in its limestone walls. Together, they build reefs, vast underwater fortresses that stretch for miles, sheltering fish, crustaceans, and sea turtles in labyrinths of color and light. Despite covering less than 1% of the ocean floor, coral reefs support nearly a quarter of all marine species. They are the living architecture of the sea blueprints written in calcium and patience. But this masterpiece of cooperation is fragile. When the water grows too warm or acidic, the partnership breaks down. The algae flee, and the coral turns pale, an event known as bleaching. If conditions don't improve, the coral dies, and with it, entire ecosystems fade. And yet, even in that collapse, hope lingers. In cooler seasons, reefs can recover. New polyps grow over old skeletons, and slowly, the ocean rebuilds itself. Proof that even when beauty shatters, life finds a way to mend. It is the same pattern, over and over: creation, loss, renewal. A rhythm as steady as the tides. written into every ecosystem, every cell, every breath. In that rhythm lies Earth's deepest wisdom. Nothing truly ends. Even in ruin, the foundation for rebirth is already forming. While coral builds cathedrals under the sea, a very different kind of intelligence grows in the damp shadows of the forest. There, on the surface of fallen logs and leaves, lives the slime mold, a creature that defies every category. Neither plant, nor animal, nor fungus. It glides slowly across the ground, a network of living veins searching for food. It has no brain, no nerves, no eyes, and yet it can solve problems. In one experiment, scientists placed a slime mold in a maze with food at 2 exits. The mold spread outward, testing every path. Then, as if thinking, it retracted itself, leaving behind only the shortest, most efficient route between the food sources. It had solved the maze without thought, without consciousness, only through pattern and response. The slime mold's genius has inspired scientists studying everything from traffic systems to artificial intelligence. Its wisdom is simple: connect, adapt, and remember what works. It doesn't plan the future, it feels it, one pulse at a time. Perhaps that is what all intelligence really is: awareness shaped by experience, not by ego. From the shimmer of a feather to the silence of a forest floor, the planet is constantly showing us new ways of being alive. Each form of life is an experiment, an iteration of consciousness expressed through motion, color, or chemistry. The butterfly invents light, the elephant invents empathy, the coral invents community, the slime mold invents thought, and together they form a spectrum of awareness as vast as the planet itself. When you look at the world with patient eyes, you begin to see that every living thing, even the smallest, carries a fragment of universal intelligence. Life is not a hierarchy, but a harmony. Every being is both teacher and student in the grand classroom of existence. So, if you ever feel small, the same forces that paint butterfly wings and guide elephant hearts also flow through you. You are made of the same patterns: light, memory, and connection. You are not separate from Earth's wisdom. You are one of its expressions. The world is alive with ideas, whispering them through color, vibration, and song. And if you listen quietly enough, you might hear what the Earth has been saying all along: that intelligence is everywhere, and consciousness is not limited to those who can speak. It exists wherever life dares to look toward the light. Everything learns, everything remembers, everything continues. The coral rebuilds, the butterfly shines, the slime mold calculates. And you, too, are part of that infinite act of learning. The universe understanding itself, one heartbeat, one discovery at a time. The story of life is the story of persistence of creatures that survive by reinventing themselves again and again. Some do it through instinct, others through invention, and some through quiet, impossible patience. Across the planet, from the frozen poles to the tropical seas, nature keeps proving that adaptation is its purest form of genius. In the vast wilderness of the Amazon, this genius is written in rain. Every day, the forest releases vapor into the sky, and every night, that same moisture returns as rain. It is a closed system, the world's largest self-sustaining water cycle. The trees, the clouds, the rivers, even the air itself, are all part of one breathing organism. The Amazon doesn't just exist within weather, it creates weather. Each drop of water that falls carries the memory of leaves, bark, and light. But far beyond the humid jungles, where frost grips the soil and silence reigns, life has found a completely different way to endure. In the forests and ponds of North America lives a small amphibian with a secret so extraordinary that it almost defies belief: the wood frog. When winter comes, this frog literally freezes. Its heart stops beating, its lungs stop moving, and ice crystals form between its cells. For weeks, it remains motionless, a sculpture of itself, waiting for the thaw. Most creatures would die in such a state, but not the wood frog. Its body produces natural antifreeze compounds that protect its tissues from rupture. When the first warmth of spring returns, the ice melts, the frog's organs awaken, and life resumes. Heartbeat by heartbeat, breath by breath, its resurrection, not by miracle, but by biology. This ability, known as cryogenic survival, has become a model for scientists studying the preservation of human tissue and organs. The frog's body shows that life can endure not only through activity but through stillness, that sometimes survival means surrendering to silence until the world is ready again. Beneath the frozen lakes of the Arctic, another form of endurance sings. There, drifting through the dark waters, whales carry songs that travel farther than any voice on Earth. The blue whale, the largest animal ever to live, produces sounds so low they can be felt rather than heard. Their calls can cross entire oceans, a single note resonating hundreds of miles through the deep. Each species has its own melody. The humpback whale sings in long, complex sequences that evolve over time. These songs spread like culture. One population learns a new pattern, and within months, others halfway across the world begin singing it too. It is the only known example of non-human music evolving collectively, a living symphony written and rewritten by generations. Why they sing is still partly a mystery. Some songs attract mates. Others may map distances or synchronize migration. But there's also a sense of communication deeper than function, a shared emotion, as though the ocean itself speaks through them. When a whale sings, it's as if the earth remembers its own heartbeat. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship at night, the stars above and the vast black ocean below, and somewhere in that darkness, a sound begins, a deep, resonant call that vibrates through the water and into your bones. It's a reminder that sound connects everything that light cannot reach. Even in the deepest cold, the planet hums with music. The world's coldest places are not empty. They're laboratories of resilience, places where life has learned to slow down time itself. Seeds buried in permafrost have sprouted after tens of thousands of years. In one case, a team of Russian scientists revived a flowering plant from a seed frozen since the Ice Age, its embryo still intact after 32,000 years of sleep. When they warmed it, the seed opened, bloomed, and breathed again. A time traveler from a forgotten age. Each seed, each cell, carries a promise that time cannot break. The promise that waiting is not the same as ending. Just as the frog waits for spring and the seed waits for warmth, life itself waits patiently, endlessly for the right conditions to begin again. This rhythm of pause and rebirth repeats everywhere. In the ocean, plankton drift upward with the dawn and sink with the night, creating invisible tides of carbon and oxygen that help regulate the entire planet's climate. Their rise and fall, billions of microscopic lives moving in sync, is sometimes called the greatest migration on Earth, even though it happens every single day. Each dawn, the ocean lifts its breath to the sky. Each dusk, it exhales into the dark. From space, these subtle shifts look like the planet itself is breathing. If you listen closely, every corner of the Earth holds the same lesson. To survive is not to conquer, but to synchronize. The Amazon breathes with the clouds, the frog with the seasons, the whale with the waves, Each one trusts the rhythm that sustains it. We, too, are part of that rhythm, though we often forget. Our lungs mirror the rise and fall of the tides. Our hearts beat in patterns that echo the pulsing of waves. Even the electrical signals in our brains follow cycles found in weather, light, and sound. We are not separate from nature's orchestra. We are one of its instruments. When you breathe tonight, imagine that your exhale becomes part of the wind, that your heartbeat joins the hum of the ocean, that your stillness is part of the frog's frozen patience. This is what the planet teaches us, to move and rest in harmony with everything that exists. Life doesn't resist the seasons, it moves with them. It doesn't fear the cold, it sleeps through it. It doesn't mourn the passing of time, it turns time into song. From the rainforest to the frozen sea, from the cry of the whale to the silence of the seed, the earth speaks in rhythms of transformation. And if you ever feel lost or adrift, remember this: the same forces that guide the rivers and the stars guide you too. The same patience that holds the frog in ice and the seed in snow is the patience that waits within your own breath. The knowledge that everything comes back when it's ready, and nothing beautiful is ever truly gone. In the stillness between seasons, when the air is cold and the world feels quiet, listen carefully. The earth is not sleeping. It's preparing. It's waiting. And when it moves again, you'll be part of that awakening. The universe may seem cold and indifferent, yet everything within it is built from the ashes of fire. Every bone in your body, every breath you take, every heartbeat pulsing through your chest, all of it was once part of a star. Billions of years ago, massive suns reached the end of their lives in cataclysmic explosions known as supernovae. In those brief moments, the heat and pressure were so immense that new elements were born. Iron, calcium, carbon, oxygen. The building blocks of mountains, oceans, and life itself were forged in that cosmic furnace. When the stars died, they scattered their remains across space, and from that dust, new worlds formed. Planets coalesced, oceans condensed, and eventually, in the quiet corners of one small blue world, life began. You are the continuation of that story, the universe folding itself into consciousness. When you look at the stars, you are looking at your own origins, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your lungs. Each atom carries the memory of stellar fire. You are not simply in the universe. You are the universe, arranged into a form that can dream of itself. And yet, even as we walk beneath the same night sky, the world beneath our feet is filled with miracles just as profound. To a bee, for instance, the world looks entirely different. Where we see color, it sees light beyond our imagination. The hidden radiance of ultraviolet. Flowers, so ordinary to us, are masterpieces of invisible design to bees. Their petals glow with patterns and landing guides visible only in UV, markings that point directly toward nectar like illuminated maps. What we see as yellow or white may appear to them as a mosaic of electric blues and violets, each shape a silent invitation. To the human eye, a daisy is simple. To a bee, it is a cathedral of light. Through ultraviolet vision, the insect world becomes something almost divine, a hidden realm of color and purpose that coexists with ours but remains unseen. This is one of nature's quietest miracles. That reality is never singular. Every species inhabits its own version of the same world, each one shaped by what it can perceive. To the snake, heat is sight. To the bat, sound is vision. To us, the visible spectrum is home. And yet it's only a fraction of what's really there. Consider the kangaroo, a creature that carries time within its body. In the harsh deserts of Australia, where drought can stretch for months. The female kangaroo holds a remarkable power embryonic diapause. When food is scarce or her pouch is full, she can pause the development of a fertilized egg indefinitely. The embryo waits, dormant but alive, its growth suspended until the environment offers the right conditions. When the rains return and the desert blooms again, the embryo resumes development, continuing the ancient rhythm of survival. At any given moment, a mother kangaroo may nurture 3 lives: a grown joey by her side, a nursing one in her pouch, and another paused in her womb, waiting. It's a delicate, seamless balance, a biological choreography perfected by evolution's long patience. In a world ruled by unpredictability, the kangaroo has mastered time itself. In the ocean's warm shallows, another transformation unfolds, one of identity rather than time. There, among coral gardens, live the clownfish, famous for their bright stripes and quiet cooperation. But their lives hide an astonishing truth. They can change their sex. Within each group, there is one dominant female and one breeding male. If the female dies, the male undergoes a biological transformation, shifting hormones, reshaping organs, and becoming the new matriarch. It's not choice, it's instinct, encoded in the coral's rhythm of life. Other species, like wrasses and parrotfish, perform similar transitions in reverse, changing from female to male when dominance is required. These metamorphoses are not chaos but balance, ensuring survival when the odds seem fragile. The sea, it seems, understands what we sometimes forget: that identity can be fluid, that life thrives when it's willing to change. Every reef, every creature, is proof that flexibility is a form of strength. While fish shift their forms beneath the waves, birds above the clouds navigate using forces we cannot see. Every year, millions of them embark on journeys spanning continents and oceans, flying thousands of miles to return to the same nesting sites, guided not by landmarks, but by the invisible hand of the Earth's magnetic field. Inside their bodies are crystals of magnetite, tiny compasses that align with the planet's poles. Some birds even seem to see magnetic fields through special proteins in their eyes, translating invisible forces into shifting visual patterns. To them, the world glows faintly with direction. A map written in the language of physics. When you see a flock of geese carving a perfect V across the sky, you're watching more than instinct. You're witnessing an ancient synchronization between life and planet. It's the Earth whispering directions, and the birds listening with perfect trust. Everything on this planet listens, not just with ears or eyes, but with awareness attuned to the rhythms of the world. The bee listens to color. The kangaroo listens to time. The fish listens to need. The bird listens to the field. And we, when we are quiet enough, can listen to all of them. If you stand beneath the open sky, feel the warmth of the sun on your skin and the hum of the earth beneath your feet, you might sense that invisible current too, the same one that guides migrations, births, and awakenings. It's not superstition, it's connection. You are part of the same field, moving through the same lines of energy that stretch from pole to pole, from heart to heart, from atom to star. To live on Earth is to live within a vast, magnetic pulse, a heartbeat that synchronizes oceans, creatures, and constellations alike. You don't need to understand it to feel it. You only need to breathe and let the invisible become familiar once more. Perhaps the secret to peace is not in seeking control, but in learning to move with the unseen, to trust that what we cannot see still holds us, as it holds the birds, the fish, and the stars. Because just like them, you were born knowing the way home. To understand the Earth is to understand that it is not a rock floating in space, it is alive, breathing through cycles that span eons. Among these rhythms, few are as essential as the carbon cycle, a slow and steady exchange between land, sea, and sky that keeps our planet balanced. When you breathe out, when trees fall, when volcanoes erupt, or oceans sigh, carbon moves endlessly, circulating through every layer of the Earth. Plants take in carbon dioxide through photosynthesis, turning it into leaves, bark, and roots. Animals eat those plants, and decomposers return the carbon to the ground. Oceans absorb what the air cannot hold, while volcanoes release what has been buried for millions of years. Each exchange is a word in the planet's long dialogue with itself, one that has shaped every era of life. But there is another kind of architect at work, one so small you could hold 1 billion of them in your hand: bacteria. Long before plants, before oxygen, before even the concept of color, bacteria built the foundation of the world. In the shallows of ancient seas, they formed colonies called stromatolites, trapping sediment layer by layer until they created the planet's first reefs. These structures, part rock, part life, still exist today, fossils of the first civilizations on Earth. For over 3 billion years, these microscopic builders transformed the atmosphere by exhaling oxygen, turning a toxic world into one that could support complex organisms. Every breath you take is a gift from those ancient architects. They remind us that even the smallest form of life can change the fate of an entire planet. From these invisible engineers rose everything that followed: forests, oceans, coral reefs, animals, and eventually, us. But life did not stop there. It kept evolving, learning, communicating in ways we are only beginning to understand. In the shimmering blue of the ocean, one of the most intelligent creatures on Earth moves with quiet grace: the dolphin. To the casual eye, dolphins seem playful, almost human in their joy. But beneath the waves lies a social world so rich it rivals our own. Each dolphin has a signature whistle, a unique sound that functions like a name. Others remember and repeat it, sometimes even years after separation. When scientists played a dolphin's own whistle through underwater speakers, the animal responded instantly, not as a reflex, but as recognition. It was the same spark of self-awareness that humans see when we recognize our reflection in a mirror. Dolphins use these whistles to call each other, maintain bonds, and navigate vast ocean distances. But their intelligence goes even deeper. They communicate through body language, synchronized movement, and clicks that create a kind of three-dimensional sonar. Through echolocation, dolphins can see with sound, mapping their environment with uncanny precision. Every click that leaves their body returns carrying information: the shape of a fish, the distance of a wall, even the texture of the sea floor. They speak through vibration, through rhythm, through tone. Their language is not written in words, but in waves, fluid, emotional, and endlessly nuanced. And while we've translated only fragments of it, one thing is certain: the ocean is alive with voices, and not all of them are human. The idea of communication beyond language echoes across the living world. Trees share nutrients through underground fungal networks, an exchange so vast that scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. Wolves coordinate through gaze and breath, whales sing across hemispheres, and even single-celled organisms send chemical messages to one another, a microscopic chorus of life constantly in conversation. It seems that connection is the Earth's most ancient instinct, older than thought, older than bone. To exist is to communicate, and to communicate is to belong. In the tapestry of Earth's story, there are creatures whose existence feels like myth, yet they are real, woven quietly into the rhythms of time. Some carry light, others wield patience, and a few seem to defy the very rules of life itself. Among them are the tardigrades, those microscopic water bears that drift between immortality and sleep. Barely visible under a microscope, with bodies like wrinkled armor and stubby limbs, they endure what almost nothing else can. They survive freezing that halts molecules, heat that boils metal, radiation that would shred DNA, and the vacuum of outer space. When faced with death, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, drying themselves into crystalline stillness. Their metabolism stops, their water vanishes, yet they remain alive, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And perhaps that's the lesson written into their microscopic existence, that even when the world freezes or burns, life does not disappear, it only changes its rhythm. Deep beneath the earth, another creature carries secrets of longevity written into its strange, hairless skin. The naked mole rat, small and wrinkled, lives in complex underground colonies where light never reaches. It breaks nearly every rule of mammalian biology. These rodents feel almost no pain, resist cancer, and show virtually no signs of aging. A mole rat that is 25 years old looks and functions like one that is 5. Their cells repair damage with incredible precision, their proteins resist the misfolding that leads to disease, and their social structure mirrors that of bees or ants, ruled by a single breeding queen. Together, they form your microbiome, a symbiotic universe that digests your food, trains your immune system, produces vitamins, and even shapes your mood. Some communicate directly with your brain through the vagus nerve, influencing anxiety, happiness, and intuition. When you feel peace after a meal or comfort in nature's scent, you are not alone. You are experiencing the chorus of life inside you. Every breath you take is not just yours. It belongs to millions of invisible allies who thrive within you. And in return, your body provides them shelter, warmth, and purpose. You are not one organism, you are many lives in one skin, a microcosm of Earth itself. The more we learn about these inner worlds, the more we see the pattern repeating. From the networks of fungi beneath forests to the symbiotic reefs in the sea, from microbial colonies to human societies, the secret to survival is always the same: cooperation. Even ants, the smallest of engineers, demonstrate this principle in astonishing ways. In the rainforests of South America, army ants move as one living river. When they encounter a gap in their path, they don't stop, they build. One ant grips a leaf or twig, another climbs onto its back, then another, and another, until a living bridge forms, flexible, yet strong. Thousands of bodies link together, creating a structure that shifts and adjusts in real time as others walk across. When the colony passes, the bridge dissolves. The ants separate and move on, leaving nothing but the memory of connection. There is no leader, no blueprint, no command. The design emerges from cooperation itself, from each ant responding to the subtle movements of the others. It's a kind of intelligence without ego, a symphony without a conductor, a miracle that happens every day in the shadows of the forest. This principle that many can move as one echoes across the world. Fire ants form floating rafts during floods, each individual locking to its neighbor, creating a waterproof, buoyant platform that carries the entire colony to safety. They do not panic, they do not compete, they connect. Together, they become something stronger than any one of them could ever be alone. Each night, billions of plankton rise toward the surface of the sea, driven by the light of the moon. Each morning, they sink again into darkness, their motion helping circulate nutrients through the ocean, feeding fish, whales, and coral alike. Without them, the planet's oxygen would dwindle, and the balance of life would collapse. These microscopic drifters, unseen and uncelebrated, are part of the largest migration on Earth, and it happens every 24 hours. From water bears to mole rats, from ants to plankton, nature shows us one unbreakable truth. Strength does not come from domination, but from connection. Life thrives through networks, biological, emotional, or cosmic. The pattern is everywhere, echoing quietly in our veins, our ecosystems, our relationships. When you feel disconnected, remember that even the smallest beings are bound by threads of belonging, the same invisible networks that link ants to colonies and plankton to tides. Also link your breath to the forests and your heartbeat to the turning of the planet. To live wisely on Earth is not to stand apart, but to take your place in this vast web of interdependence, to build, to bridge, to belong. Because in the end, the miracle of life is not that we exist, it's that we exist together, as cells, as creatures, as planets, as stars, a universe of separate hearts beating to the same eternal rhythm. And if you listen in stillness, you can feel that rhythm now, the pulse of unity running through soil, sea, and soul alike. It whispers a simple truth, older than time itself. Everything that survives, survives through connection. Good night, and see you in the next video.